I realize sometimes when you talk about certain fans and certain fan bases and their beloved players, their icons, their favorites, that if you say anything that even crosses a line of not being 100% praiseworthy or effusive in praise, that it's going to generate some emotions and some feelings and some visceral reactions. And that's fine. I don't really care. Like, reality is what reality is. And, you know, sometimes when you speak to truths, like, it's going to make people feel uncomfortable. That doesn't mean you don't say anything about it. And I will acknowledge this about the Cincinnati Bengals and their fan base. The efforts that they've put in recent years to raise the profile and raise the awareness on a couple of their guys and their Hall of Fame candidacies has been great to see. I mean, they really put in that PR work. They've really been united in their voice. They've really been, you know, effective in their push, and to the point where you now look and you've got both of the Kens, Anderson and Riley, among the 12 finalists for the senior committee for the 2023 Hall of Fame class. Like, we could sit there and say that that's solely dedicated to the results and the resumes of Anderson and Riley, but that's crap, and we know it. Let's be honest about it. Like, I mean, come on. We just saw Bryant Young get in the Hall of Fame as much because of player testimonials as anything else. Like, Bengals fans have played this game really, really well, and they deserve credit for that. And let's also be really clear here. The fact that after over 50 plus years of the organization's existence, that the only Bengal, or like, you know, longtime Bengal in the Hall of Fame that's not Paul Brown is Anthony frickin' Munoz. And Anthony Munoz hasn't played in the league in 30 damn years. So certainly a lot of Bengals fans feel a lot of angst and consternation about the fact that over 50 years of organizational existence, and they've got one Hall of Famer. And Christ almighty, now the Jaguars even have a Hall of Famer. What's going on here? I get it. And I want to be absolutely clear here too. Bengals fans are right for feeling a bit of an aggrieved status, in that they should have more than one Hall of Famer in Canton. They absolutely should. However, in my opinion, they've been backing the wrong candidate. They've been backing the wrong campaign. They've been backing the wrong player, the wrong resume. And of course, I'm talking about Ken Riley. Ooh. Now, when we talk about Ken Riley, we're talking about a guy who played 15 years in the league at right corner, which means, if you want to think about it that way, he traditionally faced off against the opposing team's second best wide receiver. So he wasn't taking on the marquee number one guys on a consistent basis. He just wasn't. Okay. And in that 15 seasons, he had one time that he made a all-pro team. Just one. Of any kind. He had one Pro Bowl season. 62 career interceptions. Yeah, that's a lot of interceptions, but does that really feel like a Hall of Fame worthy player? Like, I'm not totally an advocate for a smaller Hall of Fame, like a super small hall. Like, I advocate for plenty of guys that I feel like should be inducted in Canton. But I am a guy that believes in some standards. I am a guy that believes in, you know, guys should go in based off of the quality of their resume and not because of other things. And it's interesting that you're probably sitting there, especially if you're a Bengals fan watching this, you're probably typing right now, I know what I did. Do you know what I did? Of course, those aren't Ken Riley's actual numbers. That's Dave Brown. Some of you are going to go, who? I said Dave Brown, who out of his 15-year career spent the vast majority of that time in Seattle. He was the right corner in Seattle, so he traditionally faced off against opposing teams' number two wide receivers. In his 15-year career, he had 62 interceptions. He had one time that he made the Pro Bowl, and in that same season, he was second team All-Pro. That's it. Dave Brown was a good player. He was a pretty good player. But pretty good shouldn't be enough to get into the Hall of Fame. And the point I'm getting at here is the differences between a Dave Brown and a Ken Riley and their cases are absolutely minimal. Ken Riley, in his 15 years in the league, was a one-time first-team All-Pro, and that was his last season in 1983. He was a two-time second-team All-Pro. He had 65 career interceptions, and that's the number that everybody keeps pointing to. The 15 seasons, the 65 career interceptions, the 83 career turnovers, blah, blah, blah. But again, what's so fundamentally different between the resume of a Ken Riley and a Dave Brown? Not much. Some of you might say, well, should we be talking about Dave Brown as a Hall of Famer? Absolutely not. The reason that we haven't been is because he's not. He's a good player, doesn't belong in that Hall of Fame conversation. Yet somehow, some way, Ken Riley has gotten to this point where not only is he among that top 12, he feels like a leading candidate to be one of the 3 seniors that moves on and gets inducted into the Hall of Fame next year. And yes, that feels off to me because we're primarily seeing a situation where Ken Riley is not getting inducted because of the quality of his resume compared to his peers, compared to others. He's getting inducted or getting to this position because of the other shit that shouldn't really matter. Like, how can a guy be Hall of Fame worthy when not only was he not considered elite at his position at the time, he wasn't even the best corner on his team. In the 70s, the best corner on the Bengals was Lamar Parrish. And when you talk about the almost decade that Lamar Parrish spent in Washington, or in Cincinnati, and then later on the last few years in Washington, like, this is a guy that made the Pro Bowl 8 times, 7 of them as a corner. He was actually first-team All-Pro himself, too. And you're going to say, well, the Pro Bowl is a popularity contest and blah, 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 blah. Back then it wasn't. Not as you might think about it as a popularity contest. The Pro Bowl was voted on by coaches and players. So you see all these player testimonials from guys in their 60s and guys in their 70s talking about Ken Riley. Yeah, but the problem is, in the time, in real time, they did not view Ken Riley as elite. If they did, he would have made more Pro Bowls. Lamar Parrish was the cornerback one on that team. Lamar Parrish was the one that kept going to the Pro Bowl. Why? Because he was the better player. Yet you don't hear Bengals fans say a single thing about Lamar Parrish. They don't. They pretend like they do. They don't. They went all in on the 2 Kens, and they even kind of undercut submarine Ken Anderson for the benefit of Ken Riley. Why? Because Lamar Parrish had off-the-field issues. Because Lamar Parrish made the outrageous contract demands and the trade demands, and he ended up getting traded to Washington. Meanwhile, Ken Riley was a Bengal through and through and spent his entire 15-year career there. He's in the Ring of Honor. Like, again, the wrong reasons. There are absolutely Cincinnati Bengals that are not in the Hall of Fame, that are worthy of it. Several, in fact, of Ken Riley's teammates, but sadly not Ken Riley. I realize it's tough when you talk about any athlete or any person that's passed away, because if you say anything that isn't glowing or effusive, it generates a problem. This is not me saying Ken Riley is a bad person or he was even a bad player. Point to where I've said he was. By all accounts, he's a wonderful man. Good teammate, good leader, good player for a number of years. I want to be very clear on that. But that doesn't automatically make a Hall of Famer. You have at a minimum, 3 teammates of Ken Riley's from those 70s teams that are more worthy, not on opinion, but on fact, than Ken Riley. Ken Anderson. Like, what a crock it would be if Ken Riley makes the Hall of Fame before Ken Anderson does. Ken Anderson played the marquee position of quarterback. Ken Anderson's the one that was a league MVP in 1981. Ken Anderson was a 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro. Here's a guy that led the league in passing yards a couple of times, led in the league in completion percentage 3 times, led the league in quarterback rating 4 times. When you look at him relative to his peers, statistically, he certainly stands out statistically above Ken Stabler. He also stands out statistically above Terry Bradshaw and Roger Staubach, to which some are going to say, well, that's because of the system, that Midwest Coast offense that he played under with Bill Walsh calling the plays. How much better would Ken Anderson's numbers be if he had frickin' Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier in the damn backfield? How much better would his numbers be in the passing game if he had Mike Webster hiking them the ball at center? If he had Lynn Swann and John Stallworth on the outside? Isaac Curtis, nice. Also a guy I would say, well, if you're advocating for frickin' Ken Riley, why wouldn't you advocate for Isaac Curtis? But imagine what Ken Anderson's numbers would be with that talent around him. Imagine what Terry Bradshaw's numbers would be if he played in Cincinnati, right? The point I'm getting at here is Ken Anderson has waited a long time too, with, frankly, a better resume. And for the life of me, I don't understand why the Bengals fans have kind of undercut Anderson for the benefit of Riley. Why? For the wrong reasons. Not only is Ken Anderson more Hall of Fame worthy in terms of his resume, I've already talked about the fact that Lamar Parrish is, period. And why do I say that? Because again, their peers at the time say so. You want to talk about these testimonials from softened up old men in their 60s and 70s? Yeah, they're trying to be nice. And maybe they do feel that way, some of them. And that testimonial crap carries some weight. Whether it should or not is a subject for debate. But in the time that they played, where the players and coaches had a voice, they did not view Ken Riley as elite. Scouting services at the time, George Allen at the time, like a number of people that know better than any of us, including you Bengals fans, viewed Lamar Parrish among the very best at his position. They viewed Lamar Parrish as elite. They viewed Ken Riley as good to pretty good, but not on that level. But yet somehow Ken Riley has supplanted and surpassed his far better teammate. Like, let's be honest about this. He has, for the wrong reasons. And if we want to talk about another teammate, how about frickin' Bob Trumpy? Another guy from the Bengals of the 70s on the offensive side of the ball. At another really underrepresented position of tight end, 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro. Not to mention all of his years of body of work as a commentator. If you say, well, that's not really supposed to matter here. You really think Dick LeBeau got into the Hall of Fame solely, exclusively, entirely based off of his playing career? Let's not be naive about it, folks. Like that right there, I've just named 3 teammates with better, more easy to understand Hall of Fame resumes. Ken Riley being in this spot. Meanwhile, a Lester Hayes, a former Defensive Player of the Year, not being, is a crock. The fact that a Ken Riley could potentially be thought of as one of the 3 most worthy candidates, and it bumps down somebody more worthy, like a Sterling Sharp, a Randy Gradishar, a Chuck Howley, a Ken Anderson, an Eddie Meador, Bob Kuchenberg, so on. Yes, I've got a problem with that, and all of you should too. It should be about the 3 most worthy candidates, not about the 3 candidates with the best PR messaging and the best organized campaigns pushing them. I'm sorry, but if I was in that room and somebody tried to tell me that Ken Riley deserved to be one of the 3 here, I would laugh in their face, as I should, because he's not. I don't think he's Hall of Fame worthy at all. Because if he is, then who the hell isn't at this point? If he is, then Dave Brown certainly should be, because what's the difference? Ken Riley's getting pushed over other more worthy teammates. He's getting pushed in part because the Bengals need more Hall of Famers. I agree, you have better, more worthy Bengals to put in that spot. There are better, more worthy cornerbacks, not my opinion, fact, that should be in the Hall of Fame over Ken Riley, that couldn't even sniff the top 25 semifinalist list, let alone the top 12 finalists. Like, this is getting crazy here. And nothing but respect to the Bengals fans for what they've done, but this has kind of been a monster of their own creation. I realize it's hard for them to back down now because they pushed Ken Riley to this point that his resume suggests he doesn't deserve. And you can feel it all the ways you want to about it, Bengals fans. It doesn't change that reality. And you're going to say, well, it's easy for you to say as a Bears fan because your team has more Hall of Famers than anybody. Yeah, but I don't think Jimbo Covert should be in the damn Hall of Fame. But if you're going to tell me that a Ken Riley should be in the Hall of Fame, then a Steve McMichael certainly sure as hell should be. A Peanut Tillman shouldn't even have to wait to the senior committee. I'm just saying. And I don't necessarily know that I fully agree that Steve McMichael and Peanut Tillman are even Hall of Famers. And I'm not going to push them just to push them because they're from my favorite team. I realize the circumstance is different because Bengals fans feel disrespected, and for years they haven't had a lot of good to look forward to on the field. That is absolutely true and totally relatable, totally understandable there. But at least push the right candidates. If Bengals fans were raging for Ken Anderson, I'm 100% with you. If you were raging for Lamar Parrish, I'm 100% with you. If you're raging for Bob Trump even, I'm 100% with you. But this, to me, is a bridge too far to sit there and tell me that he is more worthy than a Chuck Howley, who was arguably not only the best player defensively on the field for either team in Super Bowls 5 and 6, was a Super Bowl MVP on the losing team for a reason, because in his mid-30s he was still dominant. And Randy Gradishar, who spent 70% of his career plus being either a Pro Bowl or All-Pro, a former NFL Defensive Player of the Year. You're telling me one of those two guys has to take a back seat for another year for Ken Riley? I call BS on that. Sterling Sharp was the unquestioned second best wide receiver of his time after the GOAT, Jerry Rice. Ken Riley can never make that claim. Ken Anderson has statistics that are better than other Hall of Famers. Ken Riley has one statistic that even points to the fact that he was the secondary corner. It was Lamar Parrish that was feared in that secondary in the 70s. So naturally teams threw at Ken Riley more, and as a result he might get some more interceptions than a Lamar Parrish did. But the peers, the coaches at the time, the scouting services at the time, which is what teams used, and that included current former coaches, they all agreed Lamar Parrish was significantly better. Now, I'm not big on Everson Walls being a Hall of Famer, but I'm sorry, his resume is better than Ken Riley. Like, Ken Riley, to me, getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame with no all-decade team accoutrements or accomplishments, with no championships, and I hate using Super Bowls as a thing here, but I mean, I'm just trying to come up with something. You've got one number with Ken Riley, and even then, when you look at that number, you say 65 career interceptions, less than 600 return yards, only 5 touchdowns. So yeah, you would get some interceptions, but he wouldn't do much with them, whereas other guys did do more with them. Ken Riley is more like Dave Brown, less like a Hall of Famer. Sorry. Not sorry. It's reality. And if you were bothered at all about what Deion Sanders said about it feels like it's a free-for-all with guys getting into the Hall of Fame, Ken Riley is the living embodiment of that. Yes, we should absolutely have more Cincinnati Bengals in the Hall of Fame. And I realize for Bengals fans, you're kind of in a no-win spot here because you've backed this guy in Riley for so long. Feels really odd to back off of him now. And maybe there's a piece there of just get it done and over with so you guys can shut up about him so you can focus on other actually more worthy candidates. But it's a damn shame that Lamar Parrish couldn't even sniff this process when he was clearly the better player. It's sad that Ken Riley would go over the quarterback from that team who was a better player and more important to his team. Ken Anderson was QB1. He was the top guy at the most important position in the game. Ken Riley wasn't even cornerback 1 on his team. And he's the one that's about to go into the Hall? No. Bengals fans, like, at least be honest about it. If you're going to tell me, hey, you're right, but I don't care, I want some Bengals in the Hall of Fame, at least you're honest. At least you're honest. And I respect that. I don't agree with it because, like I called out here, there are other Bengals more worthy, but at least I respect that. But if you're going to sit there and try to tell me legitimately, truly that Ken Riley is worthy of a Hall of Fame spot, I'm going to call BS on that. That's not anything personal, but it is BS. And point out that by you doing that, that means other more worthy Hall of Fame candidates who, by the way, have potentially waited longer for their moment in the sun don't get it. And by Ken Riley getting in, it lowers the bar so significantly for the Hall of Fame to the point where it starts to mean even less and even less.